Cari telespettatori, benvenuti a questa edizione di Metropoli. Siamo nel luogo della piccola Italia, questo luogo che è una galleria così spontanea, creata dall'idea di una persona che si chiama Sandy Cavallo, che è designer grafica, però ha creato questa mostra che si chiama Radix, Designer by Nature. Designer by Nature vuol dire che di natura si è tutti un po' designer, abbiamo questo lato creativo che abbiamo dentro di noi e vedrete con il nostro programma di questa sera, oggi, abbiamo una bella barca di persone che abbiamo per voi per far scoprire il loro talento. Allora, non andate via, si continua dopo questa brevissima pausa. Nella piccola Italia non ci sono solo dei buoni ristoranti nei quali si può andare a mangiare, a prendere un buon bicchiere di vino, però ci sono anche altri venues, se vogliamo, ci sono dei posti dove si può scoprire qualcosa di molto molto bello e molto interessante, come un po' di arte. L'arte creata di questa mostra qui proprio nella piccola Italia. Questa mostra si chiama Radix Design by Nature, organizzata e concepita da questa signorina qui a fianco a me, la signorina Sandy Cavallo. Sandy, welcome to our show and congratulations for this beautiful venue.
Thank you very much.
This must have taken quite a bit of time to organize, right? Or is it something that was very spontaneous?
It was a lot of work, but it was very spontaneous, so it was kind of in a very short period of time.
So it was basically like a hurricane of ideas that came along. How did this come about? Because from what I found out, this was just in the month of May, and 1 month later, everything was here, right? This was something that you wanted to do for a long time?
It's something I've been thinking about, but the actual idea, it just sort of happened, and I kind of went with it. I had an idea, I came up with a theme.
Let's speak about the theme. Radix, design by nature. Why Radix?
Radix is actually the source of origin, the meaning behind Radix. It's a Latin word. And basically, in this art exhibition, we're having 13 artists that are artists by night, sort of thing. Each one of us have a profession where we all work 9 to 5 jobs, and the art is something we do for the love of it.
As a passion, basically.
As a passion, exactly. So, Radix, designer by nature, what it means is that when you're a designer, when you're an artist, it comes within, and it starts from when you're young, and it's something that it's always in you, and no matter what path you take in life, it kind of always pulls you back in,
A kind of magnet, basically, that brings you on your path that was kind of traced before, something like that. It's a kind of, obviously, a real passion. As you say, you all have full-time jobs, but at the same time, in your case, you are also a graphic designer, right?
Yes, I have my own company. I'm a graphic designer. I do graphic art, websites. But which I love, Don't get me wrong. I love my job. I love my clients. I have a very personal approach with my clients, and I'm happy doing what I do during the day. However, my creativity really comes through my designs, my illustrations that I do.
But isn't it kind of it's une épée à deux tranchants, like un couteau à deux tranchants, basically, in the sense that when you have a client, he gives you certain parameters and you have to stick to those, right? And you come up with whatever they want, which you have some beautiful designs that you did. I saw some La Cornetteria, Euro Carrosserie, Bon Appétit, beautiful graphic work. But then if you do it on your own, do you set your own parameters, or are there parameters? And it's even more of a challenge, isn't it?
There's no limits, but people often ask me, how did you come up with it? Honestly, it's just, I start with something. Sometimes it's just, I want to practice a new technique, so I start, and then from one thing, it just leads on to something else. And then from that one piece, I'm like, you know what? I want to do more of this, so that's, hence the collection of, 5 or 6 pieces from the same style.
Variations on a theme, basically. La bellezza dell'arte, basically. It's all going in different directions, but then the nice thing about it is that it appeals to many people. If we look at these works behind us, can you speak to us a bit about how you came about these works?
Well, like I said, these particular pieces, I was actually in love with the photography, because when I do my art, I usually it comes from an image that I like, and then I build a concept from that image. There's a whole concept that's being developed, exactly. I was in love with the photography, which, if you look right behind me, it's photography by a famous photographer from Russia, Usenko. His last name is Usenko, and I really love the way he was, he was showing off a woman's body and the shadows and the lights. I really loved everything about it. So I actually was developing a new technique on how to do it, and then I kind of developed into a collection, like I said.
And then you basically treated it in a different way, because this obviously looks like something like electronic. How is it treated?
It's actually digital. It's digital art. Basically, it's like painting, but my canvas is my screen, and I draw every line, I apply every color. Always looking back to the original as a reference, and at the end, this is what it looks like. The colors are very vibrant.
But not only that, also you composed, under the body we have this zebra-like pattern, then above it we have a more geometrical échelle type pattern. If we look at Monica Bellucci right behind me, the same thing. There's a certain balance that you have to go and get with the different colors and the opposition between these colors, right?
Yes, exactly. And that's kind of my colors is kind of my thing, bold colors, but within simplicity. My work, I define myself as being very simple yet bold and colorful. And like you said, it's really, you have to find a good balance of both.
It's a fine line, because it can easily get out of hand and it can be overkill. So I guess in your case, we were talking about it before actually going on air, your philosophy is more less is more. Then more is more. Right?
Definitely.
Because you go down to the essence of what is there, so that's why it's so punchy, I find.
Exactly. And finding something, when there's no clutter and there's nothing, everything is put into, everything is there, it's obvious. So there's almost no mistake. There's no room for mistakes.
You cannot, taking something away from that would just completely diminish the work. It's just a question of balance and harmony. Yeah, exactly.
Adding to, yes.
Allora, avete capito, Sandy, molto talento qui. Dietro a me vedete ci sono queste opere che lei ha creato con l'ispirazione alle volte del momento, praticando delle nuove tecniche. Quando si praticano queste tecniche alle volte si sviluppano dei talenti, o si trova un filone dove si segue e poi ci porta nei posti come questi qui, questa galleria dove ci sono proprio queste opere d'arte. And I think that's exactly how this whole Radix designer by nature came about.
Yes, and also what I'd like to mention is that it's not just, my art is digital, but everybody here has a different medium. Yes, we have fashion design with Antoinette Di Carlo, beautiful evening dresses, wedding dresses. We have jewelry, handmade jewelry by Antonietta Presti. We have photography, sculptures, different types of. It's everything. There's a bit of everything. So I think that's what makes this exhibition so.
Is this something that can come back maybe in the future?
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Now that I've done it once, I know more or less, how to go about it. Half the work is already done. I think we got a good exposure, and people are starting to recognize. So I think that's a really good way to, from here, we could do just about anything.
The foundations have been laid and we are ready to build on these solid foundations. Sandy, tanti auguri e come si dice in italiano, in bocca al lupo and all the best.
Grazie. Thank you very much for being here. It's an honor.
And it's our pleasure. Allora si continua a parlare di arte in questa mostra che si chiama Radix Designer by Nature. Designer perché la persona è proprio di natura un designer. Per natura è proprio l'essenza stessa di questa persona e con me ho una persona che fa proprio delle belle opere, dei design di gioielli che fa dalla giovane età di 12 anni. Antonietta Presti. Antonietta, benvenuta, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Antonietta, you started very young doing jewelry, like I guess many girls probably. You're fascinated by anything that is bright and that shines and sparkly and colorful, and you want to put it together. How did this become a passion, though?
I did art school, and then I decided to move to Halifax, and they had an art program there, so I started to do some silversmithing, and it just continued from there. Yeah.
Even silversmithing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's nice. So within what we have here, can we find some of that type of work?
No, now I'm concentrating more on textiles and beading and more colorful stuff, not silver. I'm always changing. You have to keep it interesting.
So basically, why is it that you is it because it's more difficult for the silversmithing, or is it a question of taste?
You have to have a big studio, and you have to have ventilation equipment, and it is a little harder to do.
The equipment, obviously.
Yeah, but I also love color, and it's harder to do color when it comes to silver. So I've found the medium that's a little more conducive to my obsession with color.
Very nice. So the art school you did in Halifax, where was this?
The Nova Scotia College of Art and Design.
And what type of? I mean, you did all kinds of art. You do drawing and all that stuff.
Yeah, I do drawing, painting. I have a major in ceramics, and I did a minor in jewelry. So a bit of everything.
Why is it that all the Italian people have all this knack for ceramics, for glass, for jewelry? It's something that I find is very deeply rooted, right?
It's something you grow up with. I mean, you see it all the time. You see it in churches. I mean, we grew up in churches, and the stained glass window, the sculptures, the paintings. I mean, I still sit in a church and I look around and I'm always awed. So, yeah.
That's very nice. And it's nice to keep that observant eye, yeah. Right? To always notice all around you. I guess that's the eye of the designer too.
Definitely.
Because aside from this, you're also an interior designer.
Yes, I do. That's my day job, yeah.
So day job, you design interiors on a bigger scale,
yeah.
And then you go to the small scale and you design this beautiful jewelry that you have around your neck, and that is here. And what is the feedback from people?
They think it's different. They think it's colorful, fun, fresh. Those are the words I love to hear. So, yeah.
That's very nice. Now, is this something that you do like throughout the year, or do you just concentrate on certain exhibitions like this one?
This is actually, I'm only starting to do this more on a regular basis with this collection. I actually just became a member of the Métiers d'Art for Quebec, and I'm actually going to be doing the Salon des Métiers d'Art. I just found that out. So I'm sort of taking it to the next level, let's say. So, yeah.
And among inspirations, what do you look for when you design certain jewelry? I mean, obviously, in the jewelry world, there are big names, Cartier, and so many others. But there's also like the indigenous people that do some very beautiful things. What is Antonietta's inspiration?
A lot of the Mexican art is very colorful. A lot of the Australian art. I also look to nature. Flowers are my biggest inspiration. Just the color combinations. That's mostly where it is. It's mostly nature. Yeah.
Allora avete capito che Antonietta si ispira molto dalla natura, ma anche dall'arte messicana, l'arte dell'Australia, degli indigeni, e si vede attraverso queste sue opere, che sono questi gioielli molto colorati, gioielli che hanno tanta vita, hanno una belle forme anche diverse. You use many different shapes for your jewelry, right? Because it's not a traditional, if you want, a star or a typical shape.
No, it's all different shapes and different materials too. some of my stones are cast in concrete, which you wouldn't expect some of the gray pieces are concrete. I'm using some recycled stuff, so it's sometimes the material that inspires me, sometimes the shape. It's always something different.
So how did that come about, cast in concrete? I mean, that's very original.
When I was looking for pieces sort of as my central big stone, they're not always pretty. They're sometimes, they have defaults, and I was trying to do something a little more edgy, urban, and that's when I started thinking about doing the concrete. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Being an architect, obviously, the concrete side is a bit of a fascination there, so you always wonder how people get to certain ideas and certain expression of what they are doing, Now, this is something that you've been doing for quite a while, obviously. The intention is to keep on doing it, as you said, and to keep on going in different exhibits. How about this, Radix by Nature? To participate in something where you have such diversity, how is it for you?
Oh, I love it. I love seeing everybody doing a little something different. And people say that jewelry is not an art, or, painting is more, or photography or drawing. We're all artists. Everybody says the same thing. It keeps them up till 4 a.m, and it's all they want to do all day long. We all share the same obsession.
And then you got to go to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Do something else to bring in the money to be able to do this, right? Wow, that's amazing. So, Antonietta, are there any other inspirations, any other venues that you'd like to explore? Because obviously you have necklaces. Are there rings? Are there bracelets? What kind of jewelry are we looking at?
There's earrings and bracelets and necklaces in this collection, but I've gotten people asking me about belts and handbags. So the accessory collection might grow a little bit from there. We'll see. Maybe pillows and maybe some house accents, things like that.
Being an interior designer, obviously, I'm sure you can dress a nice bottle of wine with something special, something very elegant and something also colorful at the same time. Especially now we're in the summer, we have these barbecues, we have all kinds of things outside. We have urban living rooms basically outside, so I think that could be a nice venue to explore.
Yeah, I think I will. It's fun to do something new. You always have to keep it interesting.
Very nice, Antonietta, grazie mille e tanti auguri per questa tua collezione e buon proseguimento.
Grazie, buonasera.
Ecco, allora andiamo subito a questa brevissima pausa. Si continua a parlare di arte in questa bella mostra che è proprio la Radix Designer by Nature, perché ci sono delle persone che hanno non solo talento ma hanno questa passione per quello che possono fare dopo il lavoro. Dopo il lavoro vuol dire anche a casa, vuol dire con gli amici, vuol dire fare delle cose che a loro piacciono. Abbiamo tanta vita qui che circola in questa galleria temporanea qui nella piccola Italia e sono con Stéphanie Dugré. Stéphanie Dugré, benvenuta al nostro programma.
Thank you.
Stéphanie, tell me something. You design jewelry.
Yes.
Where did this passion come from?
It stemmed from me from whenever I was young. I was always into fashion. At school, I was known to have the latest fashions and earrings, and I always loved jewelry. And so one day I just started. I said,
with jewelry, because you could have gone into fashion design, you could have interior design, design furniture, other stuff. Why jewelry?
And I find jewelry makes an outfit, even if you're dressed very casual. A nice pair of earrings or bracelet or necklace it stands out. And I don't know.
So I guess you're a person that looks at details, because often jewelry is it's a smaller object, obviously, and obviously very detailed. It's something that stands out, as you say, which makes the outfit, but it's in the details.
That's true. And I am a person in general who's very organized and pays attention to detail and patient, and I just have my passion is in jewelry more than above anything. Maybe eventually I'll stem into Clothing, and I would love to expand my line, but for now, jewelry.
Maybe watches too?
Yes. Yeah, I've gotten that a lot. Everyone's like, do you make watches? I said, not yet.
Oh, Oh, not yet, but it's something that you'd like to do. I'm a sucker for a nice watch. It's us men, obviously, we don't have as many jewels that we can put on as women do, but obviously a beautiful watch is a beautiful piece of art. So what kind of materials do you use for your jewelry?
I use all quality stones, so I use a lot of Swarovski crystals. I'll use corals, porcelain, agate, jade, a lot of real stone. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Quality, like I'll use 925 silver for earring hooks. Yeah.
And this is all jewelry that you assemble yourself?
Yes. Well, I travel a lot, so I buy a lot of things in countries that I go. Like I've been to Amsterdam, I've been to Italy, I've been to London. So a lot of stores that I go to, I'll buy a lot of beads and I'll find little shops there and I'll bring it back here. And a lot of people like elements of wanderlust and travel in their pieces, and it's something they could relate to. So yeah, I'll buy online too from other places.
Do you think it's important for an artist to travel, to look around the world and see what's around?
Very. And I studied art, like actually before.
Where did you study?
Concordia.
You did fine arts?
Yes, did fine arts, studied art history, thought I was going to go into law school.
From art history to law school, how do we make that jump?
Because you could study politics, but then to study art history, you need to know, like, to understand art, you need to know its context, right? So you need to know everything about eras and society and sociology. And
it's a lot of people don't think about it, but art is extremely and directly linked to the political thinking of a certain epoch, because the Renaissance or the Baroque or all those movements, I'm speaking about architecture obviously because that's my trade, but in your case those movements did not come about just by chance.
No, you have to know like how it came about and what was before it, what was after it. So that's it. So I was already inspired by art then, and then that made me want to go to like Italy and like other places that I learned about. And then when I'm there, I always research like certain stores on famous streets, and then or if I'm just in the markets, and like I'll find like I found a lot of like turquoise there, heart shaped, and I brought it back. And then people like they really seem to have reception to that.
Very, very interesting. Allora avete capito che l'arte, come dice Stefania, l'arte è molto legata alla politica. La politica di un tempo ha definito, come dicevo, il Rinascimento, il Barocco, tutti i movimenti classici, però anche altri movimenti. E se uno non capisce quello che vuol dire la politica e come l'arte e questi due sono legate, non capisce, non riuscirà ad andare oltre, a creare qualcosa anche di nuovo. I think that's how you kind of know what's behind you, what's in the past, and it allows you to base yourself on something, have a good foundation, and then you can create something probably new and innovative, right?
Well, even to create as an artist, you should, or as a designer, you should know like what's current in any sense of the world. Like I'll get inspired by like my blue and white, for example. I was inspired by architecture in Greece. So it's based on all the blue and white houses in Greece, and also on just, besides that, also on like house furniture, like the vases, the blue and white vases. And I always said like, that's where my inspiration came for that. So
what material is it done?
Porcelain.
So porcelain, kind of like the stucco of the houses. There's definitely a link to that. And it's nice. And when you expose your jewelry like this, do you kind of explain, maybe in a very short paragraph, where the inspiration came from?
Always. People always want to know, where do you get your beads? I always get asked that. And then I always say, travel. I'm traveling.
That is so important, I find, because it's nice to look at all these different pieces of art everywhere, but when you don't talk to the artists themselves, you don't know exactly where the inspiration came from. At the same time, though, you leave it open to interpretation. So it's obviously something that, it can appeal to many different people.
Yeah, like a lot of people ask me, was your blue and white inspired by Russia? And I said no, but you know what? It could maybe I've never been to Russia, but maybe there's something there that's in like blue and white. So
Catherine the Great had some blue and white jewelry in her one of her boxes, or many boxes, and maybe they had something like that. Aside from that, and I see you have necklaces, you have bracelets. Do you have rings and other types of jewelry?
Not rings, not yet. That's my next step. Because I want to obviously I like to use quality, so I haven't found exactly the quality I want yet, but I might just get them made Yeah, from like.
But you draw everything yourself, right?
No, nothing.
You don't draw? You don't draw these beautiful pieces? Who does the drawings?
No one. It's all in my head.
But when you produce it, you just go right. You don't. You go from your idea to the actual object.
Yeah, everything's improvised. Nothing's thought out.
Can you tell I'm impressed? Sono proprio davvero affascinato perché, come dice, non fa gli schizzi per poi sviluppare il gioiello, va proprio da quello che ha nella mente, nello spirito, e poi crea questi bellissimi pezzi che sono proprio questi gioielli. Very, very nice, Stephanie. That's quite a talent you have there.
Thank you.
Because you studied fine arts, right?
Yeah.
And you did do some drawing, no?
I did. I drew, I painted, I sewed. So I have taken art classes, but for me, I rather have everything in front of me and just whatever I create. And you learn through trial and error too. I don't really like to plan anything. I'm not like that in general.
Very spontaneous. You have a good dexterity. You know how to put things together, which is quite fascinating. Not everybody has those skills. And at the same time, to be part of a show like this, how did this come about, this collaboration with Sandy Cavallo and with all this designer by nature, Radix?
Well, I met Sandy at an event, and I had been following her on Instagram, and I loved her art, so I just approached her at this event and took a liking to each other, and yeah, that's it. I love her art. We stayed in contact. She told me, she knew I did my jewelry, and she told me that she was planning to put together this show if I wanted to be part of it, and I was more than happy to be part of it, help. Yeah.
Is this your first event? Like a first public event like this?
Yeah, as an art, like in an art gallery, yes. But I have done shows. I have been part of other events. I've sponsored events, getting my jewelry into like certain boutiques right now. So.
And designer by nature, we know that designer by nature means that this is your passion.
Yes.
Your day job would be?
I work for Holt Renfrew. Yeah. Work at Holt Renfrew, so
I'm sure you see some nice jewelry there too.
Yes, so I'm in fashion, so yeah.
Are you inspired by any particular jeweler or a jeweler designer throughout the world?
I'm inspired by many, not one per se, but I mean there are others who make we make similar things, but not really one per se. Like many, I would say many. I don't really have one per se.
It's nice to have a wide variety that you can choose from for inspiration. I say it's always like making a good meal. You have the right ingredients, you the right doses, and then you have the right product comes out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Stefania, thank you very much, and all the best for your future endeavors with this beautiful jewelry.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Si continua a parlare di arte e di questa bella mostra che è la mostra Radix Designer by Nature, questi designer, questi artisti che sono qui in questo luogo nella piccola Italia, che si esprimono con la loro forma d'arte, si esprimono con delle pitture, si esprimono con i gioielli, e abbiamo con noi un'altra artista, pittrice, Julia Kavanagh. Julia, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Julia, we have these pieces behind us, which as soon as I saw it, I said, it looks familiar. It's somewhere where I've been in the past. And I see the title, and it's written Wildwood. Why Wildwood?
Well, Wildwood, New Jersey. It's apparently a very hot vacation spot with a lot of Montreal Italians. I had my first experience there a few years ago when my Italian husband, Montreal Italian husband, took me there. And I had heard about it when I was in high school. My friends would go, and I'd say, what's it all about?
What's the deal with Wildwood?
Right. So when we arrived, and if anybody's been to Wildwood, you know, you arrive down Rio Grande, and then it all unfolds, and suddenly you're in a time warp. It feels a little bit like Back to the Future, and the neon signs blew me away.
It's beautiful to rediscover, if you want, the architecture of the 50s, because most of it is from that era, and it's motel architecture because Wildwood is a vacation spot. And to immortalize, I guess it must have had quite an impact on you when you saw it.
It did, and more the signs in the motels are being protected, which is great. So, for example, the Caribbean Motel is now a national landmark, and yeah, exactly. So I walked around and I took some pictures of the signs, and I have hundreds and hundreds, but then I picked my favorites, and so I used a technique called image transfer, and then I went back into it and worked it over with collage, and then painted over, and so gradually built it up to what we see here.
So it's a mixed medium basically that you're doing. You have pictures, you have collage. Do you also paint over it?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So, and you were telling me before we went on the air that your influence was your grandma, because your grandmother was a big painter.
Yes, my grandmother, she went to Les Beaux-Arts in Montreal back in the early mid-30s, and sort of it was a little bit, that was the tail end of when she was there with the Refus Global, and that wasn't part of her gang, but it wasn't her style. But she taught me a lot of the beginnings of what I learn now, and the art appreciation, the techniques, and the beauty of it. And like I was saying, my grandmother's kitchen didn't smell like food; it smelled like turpentine.
that was her passion, I guess. That's it. And your background is also in the art world too.
Right. Yeah, I have a BFA. Bachelor of Fine Arts, focusing on art education. Yeah, from Concordia. That's right.
And have you always wanted to paint, or are there other mediums that you'd like to explore?
I know nothing else really. I took a segue and I went into telecom for a few years to make money. But I came back to it, and now I'm back in art supplies and love it. Yeah.
So your day job, obviously, as you say, is art supplies. You work for a company that makes paint and different pigments. And then your passion, your designer by nature, is all this stuff. Is this your first collaboration in an exhibit of this kind?
I've had a few small shows, and but this is a great venue. This is great because you see so many different things, and it's really design focused, but you see the creativity, and it's a great venue for new upcoming artists as well.
That's right. And how do you know Sandy?
We met at the cafe. Yeah, chit-chatting, and she had heard through a friend that we were artists, and so she brought us into her fold, and that's it, yeah.
Amazing how artists' paths cross sometimes, and how you come up with these beautiful exhibits that are like this. Julia, we can wish you only the best, and just keep on painting.
Thank you very much.
E si continua a parlare di design, di arte, di creatività, perché no? L'immaginario non ha confini, ed è questo che è proprio il più affascinante quando si incontrano gli artisti proprio che creano queste opere, che sono alle volte delle tele, possono essere dei gioielli. In questo caso invece è un vestiario, il vestito, una designer di moda che si chiama Antoinette Di Carlo. Antoinette, benvenuta al nostro programma. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
So Antoinette, before we talk about your beautiful dresses here, what led you to go into design and to fashion design?
Well, it's been a passion of mine from a very young age. I always knew I wanted to be a designer. I always had that creative streak in me. So finally I decided to go to the International Academy of Design and really try to perfect my skills and feed into the creativity.
So this fashion school is a school that lasted how many years?
It was a 2-year program.
Two-year program, where afterwards obviously you come into the market. You found some work with some brands, local brands here, doing some design work. What is the most challenging part from going from school to working for a fashion brand?
Of course, there are several steps in between, and you sort of choose your specialization, whether it's going to be design or pattern making or sewing as well. So I've kind of brought it all together and decided to specialize in haute couture, which is making one-of-a-kind gowns. I never repeat the same style twice, therefore giving exclusivity to my clients, and working with specific fabrics that really are well rendered only if they're worked by hand. They're especially cut by hand, sewn by hand, such as certain silks and organzas and embroideries and beadwork that, of course, need to be done by hand.
Therefore, the dress becomes a work of art and becomes at the same time something very unique. It becomes an expression of what you like, but also you create it for certain clients, right?
Exactly.
So the client, I guess it must be like a client that wants to have a house designed or a piece of furniture designed. They come to you, they say, well, listen, I'd like something like this, like that. Can you do it for me? So you have to kind of interpret all this, put it all together, and propose something, right?
That's exactly right. It's very comparable. Some clients do come with an idea already, or they would have done a preliminary research as to the things that they like. However, it's up to me to really size them up and really try to depict their personality and design a dress that really brings out their personality. And
you're going to have to use different textiles. You're going to have to use probably jewelry or certain stones. That this one behind you is scintillating with many stones. What's special about this dress?
Well, this one here in particular is an actual non-traditional wedding gown. I say non-traditional because I thought of this cape idea. So it's actually two pieces, and the cape does actually come off. It's for the gown that does not want to wear the traditional veil. So it kind of gives you that same feel when she walks. The organza kind of opens up and catches the air, so it really gives you that feeling. But however, it's a very modern touch to.
Very contemporary, I find.
Yes, it is.
Very nice. And to be part of an exhibit like this, what kind of experience? Is this your first time in an exhibit like this?
In this sort of exhibition, yes, it is. Yeah.
And it's probably a nice experience because obviously you get to see different forms of art and people get to appreciate your art, and you can see how there are certain links maybe between all this?
That's exactly right. And also it's about discovery. We brought together 13 local artists, and there's half of them that I didn't know about, so I was very happy to know of them.
So you're not only a designer by nature, you're also a designer by trade.
Designer by trade.
Radix goes beyond the frontier of being designer by nature. Obviously, you have to be by nature to make it by trade because it is your passion.
Exactly.
Antonietta, thank you very much, and all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Avete visto che il talento non è solo nelle cucine qui nella piccola Italia, ma anche nelle gallerie d'arte, perché per questa mostra Radix e Designer by Nature, organizzata da Sandy Cavallo e con la collaborazione con tanti artisti che lei ha conosciuto, che è andata a cercare, a portare qui, sono riusciti a fare un bel evento che ha durato quasi un mese. E chissà che nel futuro verrà anche ripetuto, perché sono state molte persone, è stato molto popolare questo evento, e quindi facciamo tanti auguri a Sandy e tutti quelli che hanno partecipato a questa mostra d'arte. Speriamo che vi sia piaciuto il programma e vi do appuntamento alla prossima puntata di Metropoli.